You know, one of the biggest funders on the left is George Soros. George Soros is this crazy, radical, lib financier, and he's funded all sorts of terrible left-wing candidates. And right now, in particular, he's funding prosecutors all across America who don't prosecute crime. So they're prosecutors who are installed at dear cost to George Soros, who will let the criminals off the hook. And this is leading to spikes in crime all over the place. One of those prosecutors in particular is Steve Descano. He's in Fairfax County in Virginia. And Steve Descano is very, very upset because an official in the Youngkin administration called him out for being on the payroll of George Soros.
Maggie Cleary says, criticize Soros-funded prosecutors. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I think that is an unfortunate way to frame this, because when we are trying to have a discussion about a substantive matter, especially about crime, like you and I are having right now, Nick, for one party to go and immediately get off topic and bring up George Soros is unfortunately a tried and true anti-Semitic trope that has been used in this country decade over decade after decade. When we're trying to talk about crime and one party of that conversation immediately goes to a conspiracy about a shadowy cabal of foreigners who are pulling strings to destroy American culture, that is not a good faith argument. It's anti-Semitic.
It's anti-Semitic. It's a conspiracy theory. George Soros isn't funding anybody. He's not funding these radical prosecutors like me, except, wait a second, I've got here a column from the Wall Street Journal from about a week ago. It says, why I support reform prosecutors by George Soros. There he is. No, that's an anti-Semitic hate fact. Pay no attention to the man writing in the newspaper whose name is actually George Soros. And it gets a lot worse for this guy, Descano. Right now, go to Bambi.com/Michael. When running a business, you will get hit with all kinds of crazy scenarios. An employee not showing up to work on time, mandatory sexual harassment or workplace safety training, wrongful termination suits, minimum wage requirements, labor regulations. One complaint can destroy your entire company. Problem is, HR managers are expensive. They can easily cost over $80,000 per year, but with Bambi, you get access to your own dedicated HR manager starting at just $99 a month. All of Bambi's HR managers are based in the United States and can support the nuances across all 50 states. Your manager is available by phone, email, and real-time chat to help you effortlessly run employee onboardings and terminations, encourage good performance, and make sure your business stays compliant with ever-changing HR rules. With Bambi's HR Autopilot, you can automate the most important HR practices, such as setting policies, training, and feedback. In fact, Bambi clients are 4 times less likely to have a complaint filed against them. Go to Bambi.com/Michael right now for your free HR audit. You run your business, let Bambi run your HR. BAMBEE.com/Michael, Bambi.com/Michael. George Soros himself, in a major newspaper, comes out and says, I am funding radical left-wing prosecutors who are not enforcing the law, who are not prosecuting the criminals. And one of those prosecutors, Steve Descano, gets called out by a Youngkin official named Maggie Cleary, who coincidentally actually is a friend of mine going back to college. I'm watching this clip, and it's this usual rigmarole. Oh, yeah, it's anti-Semitic, it's fake news, it's a conspiracy, move along. And he mentions Maggie Cleary. I said, I know Maggie Cleary. She's great. She's terrific, totally mainstream Republican, great hire for Glenn Youngkin. And what did she say? She just said a fact. She said George Soros is bankrolling these guys, and these guys are destroying law and order in our communities all around the country, and they're leading to big spikes in crime. Especially this guy, Steve Descano. He's one of the worst. He's one of the worst of these liberal prosecutors. And by the way, he's not just funded sort of indirectly by George Soros, and because Soros is funding this movement and other people are funding him. This guy took at least $50,000 directly from George Soros. Through the Virginia Justice and Public Safety PAC, Steve Descano took at least $50,000. It was probably more than that. The Justice and Public Safety PACs are the mechanism through which George Soros funds these prosecutors. Soros, in the last 10 years, do you know how much he's spent on just the prosecutors? just these DAs, just these little prosecutors. This is just one tiny little aspect of the whole political project that Soros is engaged in. Just here in the United States, he spends money around the world too. $40 million, $40 million bucks on this kind of a thing. And what has happened? What has happened? Well, you've got another report here, another news outlet, National Desk of this news outlet says 24 progressive prosecutors linked to Soros money. You saw Chesa Boudin, who just got recalled up in San Francisco, led to all sorts of chaos up there. The LA prosecutor, George Gascon, and a bunch of others as well. What is this that we are seeing? It's called the celebration parallax. That's the name that Mike Anton, who's the author of the Flight 93 essay, he's at the Claremont Institute. This is the name that he gives to this phenomenon, which is the libs tell us that they are doing something, and they're really happy about that, and they're celebrating that. And then the conservatives just repeat back to the libs exactly what they have been shouting and singing with glee. And then the libs smear the conservatives as racists and spreading fake news and conspiracy theorists for saying the exact same things the libs just said. The libs get to say it, and it's true and wonderful and worthy of celebration. The conservatives say exactly the same thing. It's a horrible conspiracy theory. They need to be deplatformed. It's anti-Semitic. How's it anti-Semitic to read a fact about this one guy that he admits in the newspaper? It's not. As Ann Coulter told me when I was in college, when a liberal calls you a racist, you know you've won the argument. I think the liberals know that we've won the argument. They're not even having an argument. They're just saying, you're not allowed to say the same things that we say. The phrase celebration parallax is kind of it's a very fancy way of saying it, because a parallax is the position of the same object seen from different angles. So you're seeing it from the liberal angle, you're seeing it from the conservative angle. But that is the way to understand this, and especially when you look at the raid on Mar-a-Lago, there's no raid on Hillary Clinton. You see they're going after Republican congressmen for in any way associating with Donald Trump, and yet there's video evidence of Hunter Biden committing all sorts of national security endangering crimes. They don't do anything about that. It's a two-tiered system. It's related to the celebration parallax. The libs do the same thing that the conservatives say the same thing. I'm sorry. I'm tongue-tied. I'm so frustrated by this. There's two sides to this. The libs do the same thing the conservatives do. It's good when the libs do it. It's bad when the conservatives do it. The libs say the same things the conservatives say. It's true when the libs say it. It's a crazy conspiracy when the conservatives say. You're seeing this play out in New York right now. Eric Adams is the mayor of New York City. Eric Adams is very upset because the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, is busing illegal aliens who are being encouraged to cross the border by the Democrats, by Joe Biden, by the libs in New York and D.C. and elsewhere. He's busing them to New York and D.C. and all the other liberal cities. Eric Adams is furious about that. He says it's putting a severe strain on New York's resources. It's horrific what's going on. And Eric Adams says maybe he's going to bus some New Yorkers down to Texas to give Governor Abbott a piece of their mind.
I already called all of my friends in Texas and told them how to cast their vote. And I am deeply contemplating taking a busload of New Yorkers to go to Texas and do some good old-fashioned door knocking because we have to, for the good of America, we have to get him out of office.
Why you got to get him out of office? Why? What is Abbott doing that is he's sending illegal aliens to sanctuary cities? How's that for the good of America? It's a sanctuary city. The sanctuary city, the whole premise is you want the illegal aliens to come. But you don't. You just want to say that you want the illegal aliens to come. You don't actually want them there. Because you say that illegal aliens are really, really good for America and they're net contributors and they don't bring any crime and they don't bring any social problems. And yet the minute they show up at your doorstep, all of a sudden this is horrific. So horrific, you're going to load up a bus full of New Yorkers to go down there and beat up the Texans and get them to kick Greg Abbott out of office. Tells you everything that you need to know. I'm glad you liked that clip. Now, make sure you ring the bell and subscribe. We've now got over 1 million subscribers. I'm very grateful for that. That's cool that this has become one of the largest YouTube channels out there, but I want it to be the very largest. I want it to be number one. That means I need 1 billion subscribers, okay? And that's gonna be a little bit of a lift, but we can do it. Make sure, send it to your friends. Bing, bang, subscribe, ding, dong, whatever you gotta do. We'll see you next time.